Hey guys, and welcome back to Crash Talk. I'm your host, Ayana, and welcome to our summer blockbuster series. Doing something a little different. I'm gonna try standing. I am gonna try talking to the camera over on this side of my room. We're having fun. And you might be saying, Ayana, it's August. The kids are quite literally going back to school. I saw a school bus today. What are you talking about summer blockbusters? Hey. It's okay. Basically, as you guys all know, I have moved. I'm back in my family home, and being in the South during the summer, I'm just reminiscing. I also saw a cicada the other day, which if you're not familiar with what a cicada is, it's essentially like a giant fly that's like 3 inches. Very large, and they scream during the nighttime, which is fun. Reminds me of home. I had a point to this, I promise. My point is, as I'm back in my family home, as I'm reminiscing in the summer, I braved the garage because I wanted to see if we still had a working DVD player, and I found one. And not only that, but I found a couple of DVDs of films that I hadn't seen in forever. Transformers, okay, the original 2007 Michael Bay, Shia LaBeouf Transformers, right? I found mint condition Herbie Fully Loaded Lindsay Lohan, and the number of people that I've told about this film that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm getting concerned. I'm scared. You guys just see a punch buggy and you're like, oh, there goes a punch buggy. You're not like, oh, there goes Herbie. I'm confused. I also found the film that we're going to be talking about today, which of course is The Fast and the Furious. Now let me tell you something. Did it quite literally take me 20 years to watch this film? Well, yes. And here's the thing. I just think it's not very familiar that nobody told me how good this movie was. What's up? What's going on? Because I was watching it and the gasps I gasped. I was gooped and gagged watching this film. I think in my head, I just kind of thought that it was like Transformers, where like the first one is so good and then the rest of them are so not good that you kind of forget that the first one was like revolutionary. And it must have been the same with The Fast and the Furious, where at some point I just like, it was a non sequitur in my brain, right? But now it is. I'm making connections. And I ate it up. I ate it up so much that it inspired me. I was talking to one of my friends and I was talking about action movies and how much I love action movies, how much I love a summer blockbuster, and the fact that we're back with like big action movies in theaters and everybody flocking to go see them. And she said something to me that just really, it was so profound that I find that I must paraphrase it for you all right now. She basically said that it's funny how Hollywood has convinced us that chick flicks are rom-coms when we all know that the most chick flick a film could possibly be is an action film. And drop the mic, Miss Carrie, you are so right. That blew my mind. It really changed my life having that perspective, because all of the girls, okay, and I'm saying girls, okay, not girls, not chicks, girls, you know what I mean. All of the girls have an action movie that's so close to their heart. My friend Ariel, shout out to you, Ariel. It's The Mummy. Like me, I love the National Treasure movies. Like everybody has an action film that's just like, just sits really close to their heart, that just says so much about who they are. You guys know my Russian nesting doll analogy at this point. It just made so much sense. And so I said, well, what are the action movies that just like mean so much to me? And that's what we're going to be exploring in this series for the closing of summer, basically. It's going to be like a little lecture, which might not sound fun, but I promise it will be. Look, I got dressed up Y2K for this film, like it's going to be fun. So as I said, today we are talking about The Fast and the Furious. This film came out in 2001 and stars Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, directed by Rob Cohen, and it can be summed up in several words, if you'll allow me to. A haiku, even, maybe I can make out of it. Cargo fast. Cargo. Zoom. Familia. Is important.
Are you dumb? Pardon me? Are you dumb? I think she's dumb.
Hey, I have a degree. And I'm sitting here like, how do I make it haiku? It can be summed up in a few words: cargo fast, cargo zoom, and familia. I am familiar with all of the jokes, the familia jokes with the Fast and the Furious. I'm tuned in enough to pop culture, right? But I didn't realize that the familia jokes were so dead on. At some point in this film, they have a family barbecue and say grace before they eat. And then they go inside and have a movie night in this 2001 action film starring Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. Right. So basically, as you guys can tell, it's one of my favorite movies now. Unironically, it is one of my favorite movies now. The stunts and everything, I ate it up. Family. Your family. So first, let's start by talking about the Familia. Who are we talking about when we say the Familia? Of course, we're talking about Dom Toretto. He's our main guy, all right? He's one of the main baddies, technically, of the film, since, you know, the whole plot is that they are hijacking trucks. But here's the thing. Brian, who is our second lead male role, he's played by Paul Walker, the entire film does not believe that it's Dom and his crew that are hijacking these trucks. And I have to say, he's kind of me for that, because the whole film I was watching, I was like, there's no way it's Dom. There's no way it's Dom. There's no way it's Dom. Who's gonna tell her? So we've got Dom, we've got Brian, we've also got Mia Toretto, who is Dom's little sister. She's the romantic love interest of Brian in the film. I feel like you guys already know what I'm gonna say. Dom and Brian. Early 2000s, we can't write good male characters without there being some sense of homoeroticism. Just really good actors. Me being delusional. Who knows? Who knows what it actually was? But you just can't convince me that Mia was the one. Like, you can't convince me, and I'll tell you why. Because at some point in the film, the lead sort of like agent over Brian, because Brian is a cop, the lead agent over Brian is trying to tell him that he needs to bust Dom, he needs to bust his crew, and he asks him, he says, hey, are you hesitating because you have feelings for Mia? And what does Brian say in response to this? He completely ignores that and instead says, he won't go back to jail. He, in the sentence, of course, referring to Dom. Right. So your boss is like, are you conflicted because of your girlfriend? And he's like, no, my best buddy Dom. I'm concerned about him. Right. And I loved it. Vin Diesel, Paul Walker in that first film. I can't speak for the others because I literally have not seen them, but I will. They were so good. The acting in this film is so good. I feel like that was another one of those things that actually really surprised me, that I really enjoyed the acting. I don't know why. People are good at their jobs. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Other characters within La Familia include Vince, Jesse, and Leon. These are sort of the boys that are attached to Dom's crew. Vince being a friend that he's had since he was really young. And then Leon and Jesse kind of just like tagged along at some point. They're really good with cars and racing. Now, my heart will go on for Jesse in particular. He reminded me so much of the college student in Jurassic Park 3. Do you guys remember who I'm talking about? Where at some point he like does something dumb and almost gets the entire crew killed, and then it looks like he sacrifices himself and gets killed, and then it turns out that he's okay. That was basically Jesse's character. Like, he's just so smart and like just so good with cars, kind of just had a really shitty lot handed to him in life, and then they kill him at the end of the film. So I've actually never been more offended in my entire life. This boy should have been going to MIT, but instead of he's RIP. I am a rapper, apparently. I was so mad. Other characters, of course, we have got to talk about my girls. As I mentioned, Mia Toretto, she is the sister, and she's also just a queen in and of herself, icon. But the icon of icons, the eater up, the sort of galactic, supernatural, Thanos-level threat of icons in this film, Letty. Let me tell you something. I want to be her. We want to be with her. This dichotomy continues on. We just have to take a quick sojourn to talk about the fashion in this film, because Letty and Mia, fashion icons, the tiny tops, the see-through tops, okay, the sunnies. I literally whipped these out. I was like, I know I have fun sunglasses somewhere. Whipped these out specifically for how iconic the little sunnies that they wear in the films are. Guys, it was so Y2K. Her stepping out of her fucking racing car at the very beginning of the film with her like huge man-stomping boots on. Letty, you have to let him get up. Let him get up. Basically, Letty is everything that I've ever wanted to be, and I just don't know if I could ever be her, but I'm gonna try my best. Other important characters that are not technically a part of La Familia. We've got Johnny Tran, who is kind of an antagonistic character in this film, and his brother Lance, who run their own sort of like racing group. We've also got Hector, who is a friendly face in the film and runs his own racing group. And then, of course, we have the cops, but whatever, we're not talking about them. Oh, yeah. So this film is set in Los Angeles. Hey, one thing that I know about LA and have known about LA since I moved out there, went to school, was there for a bit, is LA is huge for racing culture. Like, yeah, kind of the stereotypical image of LA is very sort of like influencer central, aesthetic, palm trees, cruising down the 405, and that's not true. But also, we've got the actual sort of like more historic like communities that have been in LA for time immemorial, and a lot of the sort of culture of like South and East LA has to do with racing, something that I have experienced directly. I was like I think I was going to a concert or an event, and one of the boulevards that's in Inglewood was just shut down because people were like cruising with their cars, which was so cool. You might be like, that sounds really inconvenient. You clearly have never seen a lowrider for real in your life, and you need to. It's very, very interesting. I'm not super well versed in car culture, but one of my friends is, and you know, that's part of why they loved living in LA, was just getting to see all of these cool cars. And as someone who is like Black and any of the other people of color, I'm sure that are out there and are interested in like racing and stuff like that, like car culture is a huge thing when you're a person of color, and it is definitely huge in a lot of the communities of color in Los Angeles. So it makes lots of sense why they set the film in LA. It is so funny because I was watching it and I was like, oh, I know that building. Once. It happened one time because, hey, LA has changed a lot in 20 years, okay? So I saw one of the buildings that's like downtown and I was like, I know that one. Didn't happen for the rest of the film. Me talking about car culture, I sound like that Cameron Diaz meme where she's like, Lumpia!
My best friend that I grew up next door to, was her mother was from the Philippines.
The Philippines?
Yeah. And lumpia, adobo.
That's what I sound like talking about the cars. Getting into the meat and potatoes of this film, it's about cargo fast, cargo zoom, as I mentioned. So we start off learning that somebody, clearly within the racing community, has been hijacking trucks of VHSs and DVD players, which is just so 2000s. Like, do some of you guys even know what a VHS is? I'm not going to be that person. I thought about it for a second. I'm not going to be that person. I know you know what a VHS is. But isn't that hilarious that it was like VHS players and DVD players and this was like a big problem? So they know that somebody within the racing community has been hijacking these trucks, and thus Brian, our undercover cop, has kind of been like inserting himself into the racing community within Los Angeles, specifically trying to get in with Dom and his crew. He does this by, in the beginning, going to Dom's little like family restaurant and ordering a tuna sandwich every day from Mia, which is psychosis And I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but some white people bullshit. A tuna sandwich every day? Dude, you could switch it up. It's weird.
You weird, buddy. You're weird.
So the first race that we see in the film is actually just like a street race between a bunch of different guys. In this race, Brian bets the title to his car as the kind of like $2,000 buy-in to the race.
You're gonna win. I'm gonna win.
He loses, obviously. He's new to this world and Dom is really good. And so technically he now owes Dom a 10-second car, which is essentially this like running theme of living your life a quarter mile at a time, aka how long it would take you going 10 seconds at like 140 miles per hour. And this is something that's going to pop up again, so just like hold on to that. The cops come, break up the race, Dom skirts out of there, and he actually almost gets caught by the cops, but Brian comes and saves him. It's looking like Familia. So now Brian is officially within the good graces of Dom. He's hanging out at the shop. He's invited to the family barbecue. But he is still a cop, and the FBI agents and the sort of like local LAPD that he's working with are like, dude, you need to figure out who's actually hijacking these trucks, because some of these truckers are going to start doing their own vigilante justice if they're getting hijacked, all right? Shoot, bang, bang, ask questions later. So in this, Brian starts scoping out some of the other racing crews that are in LA. So he checks out Hector and his crew, who has the right car but the wrong wheels. He checks out Johnny Tran, who has the DVD players, but they're not stolen. They were actually bought legitimately. He's kind of at a dead end, and as I mentioned before, everybody is telling him that it's Dom. And still, at this point, I feel like neither him nor me believed that this was possible or true. Okay, the big climax of the film is when we go to Race Wars, which is out in Coachella Valley. Shout out, Tour of SoCal. And this is where it's just a bunch of sort of like drag races in between people. You have a race in between Letty and some random guy where she absolutely smokes him. Queen shit. We have a race between Jesse and Johnny Tran. And during this race, Jesse actually puts up the title to his car, but then he loses and he freaks out and like drives off. And so Johnny Tran comes to Dom and is like, you better go get my fucking car back, because that's my car. It's owed to me. Which Dom does not take to so well. He also calls Dom a narc, which Dom especially does not take to so well. Here's the thing. The chemistry in between Dom and Brian's characters had me bent so bad that the entire film I was so stressed. I was more stressed about Dom finding out that Brian was a cop versus Mia finding out that Brian was a cop. The whole time I was just like, he's gonna hate him. He's gonna kill him dead in the streets when he finds out that he's a cop. And I was right for that, because after Race Wars, Dom and his crew are going to go hijack these trucks. Everybody has a really bad feeling about it, especially because they're technically missing a member of their like hijacking team, since Jesse is God knows where. And when they go, as I said, these truckers are fed up with essentially being like kicked to the curb on these routes. And so the trucker starts shooting a shotgun at them as they're driving. So you have this whole crazy stunt sequence where they're like speeding down the road, the truck's going, Vince is like hanging off the side of the truck, and Brian has to tell Mia that he's a cop so she can like know that this is serious and know that like Dom and them are going to be in serious trouble if they don't go now, because everybody has just been having bad vibes about what might go down. Luckily for Dom, luckily for Brian manages to make it in time. He even saves Vince from getting shot a lot. But Dom does in fact find out that Brian is a cop. Right. So that's not good. And he does not look happy about it. So after they get back to LA, Brian knows that Dom's gonna run. He's gonna try and go after someone. So he goes to his house, but they're all kind of too late because Johnny Tran does a drive-by and kills Jesse, who like shows back up to apologize to Dom for kind of skipping out on the hijacking. And you guys already know how I feel about them killing off Jesse, so I'm not gonna spend another 20 minutes on it, but I could. I won't, but I could. Dom enraged by this and the fact that he couldn't keep Jesse safe, looks to Brian and gives him such a like, we're dating and you can read exactly where my mind is going look that I've never seen anything like it. Basically, he tells Brian to go and fuck those motherfuckers up, okay? So Brian gets in his car, he's chasing down Johnny Tran and his brother Lance. Dom gets in his dad's Dodge Charger and he goes. They manage to run Lance off the road and Brian shoots and accidentally kills Johnny Tran, so both of them are nullified. So now it's just in between our two boys, Dom versus Brian. And Dom's not going back to prison. So now it's come back to living your life a quarter mile at a time, okay? It is a 10-second window between them and the train tracks, and they're going for it. Oh, a train's coming. Are they stopping? No, they don't. The most I have ever been just like bent forward watching a film in my life as they race and try to beat this train that is coming on the track. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was so funny because I was playing Animal Crossing while I was watching, because at first I put it on because I was like, oh, I've always wanted to watch this movie anyway, and like I just kind of want background noise while I play Animal Crossing, and I kept finding myself going like this. Oh, right. Oh, right. To the point where I just had to put the game down and like lock in. They're racing. They manage to skirt past the train, and then Dom almost immediately after sending like a satisfied smile to Brian gets hit by a truck. Mind you, they're going like 160 miles per hour. How does this man survive? How does this man survive getting hit by a truck as he's going that fast? And also, he flips his car like 3 times. It was absolutely nuts. It was nuts. And I know that the stunts, you're probably listening to me say that and you're like, Ayana, just prepare yourself for the next one. And I'm preparing. I'm preparing because that really had me gooped and gagged. So Dom manages to survive quite literally getting hit by a truck. But the police are coming. But our good friend Brian, in a moment of honor, in a moment of familia, gives Dom the keys to his car, the car that they had worked on together, the car that the whole crew had worked on, the car that Jesse had worked on. And he says, I owed you a 10-second car. And then Dom gets away. And that's the end of the film. Right.
This is your car.
Now, just as much as the characters in this film are familiar, the cars in this film are familiar. Obviously, the cars in the Fast and the Furious series are incredibly iconic, and I honestly wish that I knew more about sort of like car culture to kind of really get all of the vibes, but I did really enjoy sort of like seeing all the different cars with the different personalities, because each character has a pretty distinct vehicle that they drive. So perhaps the most elusive of the cars in this film are the Honda Civics, specifically the 1993 Honda Civic EJ1s. These are the ones that are being used to hijack the trucks being driven by Dom's crew. Perhaps one of the most iconic cars in this film is the 1994 Toyota Supra. This is the one that's being driven by Brian. It's the one that him and his Familia crew work on. It's also the one that gets given to Dom at the end of the film. This is, of course, Brian's car after the 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse, which gets completely totaled, exploded after being shot up by Johnny Tran and exploding. I don't know why I said exploding twice, but it does explode because it's full of nitrous oxide, so shout out. Another one of the iconic cars in this film is the 1970 Dodge Charger, and what I really love is that they actually paid attention to the sort of like timeline of these cars. So the whole sort of like mythology, the lore behind this 1970 Dodge Charger is that it's something that Dom and his dad used to work on together. And so the fact that they paid attention to that and actually picked a car that was much older than all the other cars in the films, guys, I'm eating that up. Some other cars within the crew, we've got some Nissans, we've got Acuras, we've got a Mazda. My good man Jesse had a Jetta. Don't get me started on the Jetta. And that's kind of what I mean about the fact that like the cars within and of themselves are characters. They're both part of the sort of like mise-en-scène of the film, but there's stories and lore and connection behind all of the different cars, especially some of the main ones that I mentioned. And I just think that that's really awesome. I think that that's really cool to be something that you pay attention to. And I'd be curious to see if with the rest of the films they pay attention to that, or if it's just like cargo fast, cargo zoom, which is fine as well. But I'm just saying in the first one, it's fun. I also do have to mention, it's very important to me that I also own a Honda Civic.
Wow.
2013 Honda Civic EX. Right. I'm not hijacking trucks, but like, I just feel cool. And that's all for this episode. No, but truly, that's it for this little installment of the Summer Blockbuster series. I just wanted to talk about some of the cool stuff that I found with the Fast and the Furious, as I mentioned. It was so fun getting to just like watch all of these crazy stunts and get to know these characters, and I'm super excited to watch the rest of the films. Preemptively sad about Paul Walker's death. If you haven't seen it, I do kind of have to be that person at this point that's like, maybe you should give it a watch. And you most definitely, if you still have a DVD player, can find that DVD in some secondhand store somewhere. So no excuses. Join La Familia today. All right, kids. I didn't even mention the cars back here. I forgot. I bought little cars. I paid for these, and it was so funny. I bought this one too because it looks like the 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse. Right. I paid for those little cars at the store. And it was so funny because the clerk was like, oh my gosh, some little boy's gonna love these. And I said, right. Anyways, that's all the time that we have. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you have seen the Fast and Furious movies, let me know what your favorite one is. I heard that the second one is like really good, so I'm very excited to watch that. Let me know what one of your favorite cars from the series was as well. I think that the Mitsubishi, no, honestly, the Volkswagen Jetta, Jesse's car, has a special place in my heart. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!